Hey guys, Ryan from Aolian Music here to come at you with part 2 of our Scales and Modes Made Easy lesson series. Alright, if you look back to part 1, we covered sort of all the basic stuff about scales, starting with the major scale and the order of half steps and what a half step and a whole step is. And if you remember, we started in the key of G. So we've learned first position, G major scale. First position because we're starting it on a G. Now you're going to learn second position of the G major scale. We're going to start on the second note of the G major scale, which is an A. Okay, so remember the finger spacings we talked about before. We had kind of this thing where we had one fret in between these two fingers, and these fingers were together. Then we had this kind of a thing where there's a fret here and a fret here, and we had this kind of a deal. We're going to use those same three fingering positions we used to play part 1, but we're just going to use them in a different order. So here we're going to start on the 5th fret A, first finger. Then we're going to play 7th fret B, and then we're going to play 8th fret C. So we have that thing going. Okay. The next 3 strings are easy because they're all the same kind of position. We're going to use this finger position, and we're going to play 5, 7, 9. On the 6th string, we just did 5, 7, 8. First finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. Next 3 strings are all the same, 5, 7, 9. Right? 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. Okay? These are all notes from the G major scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay? Now we have a little shift that we have to make. When we get to our 2nd string, we've been going, so far we've been playing 5, 7, 9. Well, now we have to shift. We actually have to take our first finger, we're going to slide up 2 frets, and we're going to play 7th fret with our first finger. It's going to be this kind of position. 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10. Okay, get that? So on the low 6th string, low E string, we're going to do 5, 7, 8. For the next 3 strings, we're going to play 5, 7, 9. Then we have a shift where we have to come up to 7, 8, 9 on the 2nd string. Then 7, 8, 9 on the E string. So let me show you that. Okay. So we've used the exact same 7 notes that fall within a G scale. But instead of starting on a G, we just started on the next note of G, which is an A. Alright, now you can use, we're going to call this the 2nd position of the G major scale. You can use it to play in G major. All right, G major. Right? We shift up, play this new position. Still sounds like G major. It's all about what notes you land on and you emphasize. If I start this second position and I land on this G note here, it sounds like we're playing in G major. Or this G right here, 8th fret on the 2nd string is a G. If I emphasize that note, I sound like I'm playing in the key of G. So if you're playing a song in the key of G and you want to play melodically and you want to play happy kind of Ionian stuff, that works. So we've basically expanded our G major, G Ionian from notes that we have to play with a little bit bigger. Okay, so we have expanded to the second position of the G major Ionian scale. That's 1. Here's position 2. So, those are related. Now, how to apply this in a modal fashion. Remember we talked about the order of our modes. We have Ionian, which is the major. Then we have Dorian comes next. Well, how this works is basically this position I just taught you, this little box shape you could call it. Could be used as G major or G Ionian, but it could also be used as A Dorian because we're starting on the second note of the G major scale, which is an A. And so this shape, basically, if you use this first finger here as this is now your root in A, and I play that same pattern we just learned that we have been calling the second position of G. If I emphasize this note here, the A, sorry, I missed it. If I emphasize this note, this second note of the G major scale, the A part, it now becomes an A Dorian scale. And it all has to do with what notes you emphasize, what notes you target, what notes you land on. So sounds completely different. If I target that A note, it doesn't sound like G anymore. Now if I can play the same position and go back and start hitting G's as my main focus. And now it sounds like G. Major Ionian. So they're kind of related. G Ionian we use the exact same notes of G Ionian or G major to play A Dorian. I hope that makes sense, but it's the same notes that you find in G, but instead of starting on G and going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, we're starting on the A, and we're going A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Same notes, just instead of starting on a G and going to G, we're starting on the A and going to the A. And so that shifts that whole relationship of that whole, half, whole, half. Those relationships of those intervals, whole steps and half steps, they don't sound like the major scale anymore. Hopefully that makes sense. So you could use this. Position 1, G major or G Ionian. This could be position 2 of G major or G Ionian. As long as you emphasize G's. G Ionian, G Ionian. Conversely, this here could be considered your first position of your A Dorian scale. Fingering wise, let me show you something real quick. I like to play it this way. I have seen guys play it this way. Pick one. So, this is G Ionian. It's also A Dorian. So G Ionian and A Dorian use the same notes. It's the same scale, actually. It's just what notes to emphasize. Now that you know that, check this out. So we can go back to position 1 of G major, G Ionian. Guess what? Position 1, G Ionian, G Dorian, can also be A Dorian. If we emphasize that A note. So they're related, if that makes sense. A lot of people will teach the modes as far as like where the first finger is, we're on the root. Okay, this is root G. So it's going to be G Ionian. Okay, so that's how, if you were going to play an Ionian anywhere, if you wanted to play C Ionian, you use that same sort of finger pattern. Doesn't matter where you put it. That is your Ionian. Now, if you wanted to play Dorian, you would have to go G Dorian would be, you'd have to use this finger shape. They teach the finger positions. Like that first position, the Ionian. If you want to play Dorian, you have to use this position. Right? So, to play G Dorian, you take that finger position and you put this on your G. And now it's a G Dorian. Now the problem with that is that you kind of fall into a mindset of whenever you want to play Dorian, you're kind of stuck with, so Dorian now becomes a finger shape and not a set of notes. And that's okay to start out with, if you want to just think of, Ionian, I play like this. Okay, Dorian, I play like this. Phrygian, I play like this. And so they each have their own sort of relationship of fingering patterns. And that's one way to learn it, that's fine, but really they're all kind of interconnected, they're all blended together. And that's what I wanted to show you with the G major and the A Dorian. Are really the same scale. You could use it either way. And all 7 of them are kind of interconnected that way. So you don't have to think, okay, I've got this sort of, this finger spacing. It has to be Ionian. Well, this same finger spacing can be Dorian too. Depending on what note you want to hit, and depending on what note's playing underneath it. So if I played an A, and I played my G major shape over it, connected. So, I hope you got that. If not, please ask me some questions in the comment section. I'll be happy to explain it thoroughly, more thoroughly if I need to. But for now, let me leave you with this. First position, G major scale, or G Ionian. Second position of G Ionian, G major. We're playing G majors in a different spot. Second position of G major or G Ionian is also, we can call it by another name, and we call it A Dorian. And we can also call position 1 of G Ionian A Dorian as well. If we emphasize the A's, or if you're playing this G major, the scale shape, over an A power chord or an A minor chord. It can sound A Dorian. So, there we go. That was part 2 to scales and modes. Hopefully that was made easy and hopefully it wasn't confusing.